And a good afternoon to you. This is Joe Holden coming to you from our CBS 3 studios. We have a breaking news update right now here on CBS 3 on last night's mass shooting on South Street. Right now, police are providing an update to members of the press on the shooting that we are told left 11 people wounded and 3 dead. Now, a programming note, if you'd like to continue watching the PGA Tour special, it is now airing over on the CW Philly. In the meantime, here on CBS 3, let's go ahead and listen into the news conference. There is Sergeant Eric Grip with the Philadelphia Police Department.
Up here available with Commissioner Outlaw, we have Deputy Commissioner Joel Dales, who is our Deputy Commissioner of Patrol. We have Chief Inspector Walt Smith, who is over the Intelligence Bureau. We have Chief Inspector Frank Venor, who is our Chief of Detectives. Also joining is Chief Inspector James Kelly, who is Commanding Officer of Rock South. Captain Jason Smith, who is our Commanding Officer of the Homicide Unit. From our federal partners, we have Special Agent in charge of the Philadelphia FBI, Jackie McGuire. We also have Assistant Special Agent in charge of the ATF, Mr. Eric Degree. Joining us also as well from our Office of Emergency Management is our Director, Dominic Morales, and also joining us is the Managing Director of the City of Philadelphia. So after we give this presentation, we just ask that everyone wait until the end to ask questions. Remember, this is very early, so we're going to be limited into the information that we can give out as of now. But once it's finished, all the folks that are behind us are available to answer these questions, including Mr. Tumar Alexander. So now to give an update on the incident itself is Commissioner Outlaw. Commissioner.
Good afternoon. Yesterday was a dark day for Philadelphia. And while many of us were out enjoying the beautiful day in the city, horrendous and unthinkable acts happened in a very popular local and tourist hangout. Acts that claims the lives of 3 people, we now know, and injured 12 others. On Saturday, June 4th, 2022, at approximately 11:31 p.m., multiple Philadelphia police officers were stationed on South Street when they heard multiple gunshots coming from the area of 400 South Street. 2 of these uniformed officers, who were assigned to the 200 block of South Street, proceeded to the area of 400 South Street from where they heard the gunshots. There, they observed several civilians suffering from gunshot wounds lying on the sidewalk and in the street. Officers on location began to render first aid to the wounded, and another responding officer who was on location and responding to the incident observed an unknown male on the southwest corner of South and American Street firing a handgun into a large crowd on the 400 block of South Street from approximately a half a block away. The officer drew his weapon and fired several times in the direction of the unknown male, we believe striking him. The unknown male dropped his handgun on the sidewalk and ran southbound on 600 American Street. The male was then lost in the area. The PPD officer-involved shooting investigation unit, or OISI as we refer to it, and the homicide unit are conducting a joint investigation. This harrowing incident claimed the lives of 3 individuals. At this time, we believe that one of the 3 decedents was a male involved in a physical altercation with another male that was potentially the genesis of the shooting. These individuals eventually began firing at one another, with both being struck, one fatally. We also believe that the 2 other decedents, as well as a number of other shooting victims, were uninvolved in the initial altercation and were innocent bystanders. The first victim was a 34-year-old African-American male who was taken to Presbyterian and was pronounced at 12:05 a.m. The second victim was a 27-year-old African-American female who was taken to Jefferson Hospital and was pronounced at 11:49 p.m. The third victim was a 22-year-old African-American male pronounced at 11:49 p.m. after being taken to Jefferson Hospital. An additional 11 victims were struck by gunfire. These victims range in age from 17 to 69 years old. Their conditions range from stable to critical. We're absolutely devastated by this incident. And we mourn the lives lost and the dozens and dozens of lives affected by this tragedy, not just here in the city, but obviously this is getting national attention. These incidents have an exponential effect on our community, and it not only impacts the individual that's been directly victimized, but it victimizes their loved ones, their families, and their neighbors, neighborhoods all over the world. It's unacceptable. It's beyond unacceptable. And we're still using every resource available to get to the bottom of what occurred, not just out there last night, but behind this gun violence in the city, period. It's important that we bring justice to the victims, their families, and our community. We're working with our local, state, and federal partners to make sure that no lead is lost and that no stone remains unturned. Standing behind me are Special Agent in charge of the Philadelphia's FBI office, Jackie McGuire, and Assistant Special Agent in charge of the ATF's Philadelphia field office, Eric DeGree, who are lending additional resources to this case. There were hundreds of individuals out there last night, and I'm asking the public that if any of these people, anyone who was out there, saw anything, witnessed anything immediately before, during, or after, to please call or text our tip line at 215-686-TIPS, 215-686-8477. Or you can contact the homicide unit at 215-686-3334. As with all of our homicides, there is a standing $20,000 reward for information that leads to an arrest. So with that, I understand there's going to be a lot of questions, but please keep in mind that this investigation is complex and is still in its infancy. And we'll do our very best today to answer any questions that you may have, but we may be limited in what we can say. So with that, I will turn it over for any questions.
So I have a couple questions about police response, because it's our understanding that there was intel received, I don't know, from the FBI that was given to police, that there were already two groups that were having issues with each other, a beef, if you will, on Instagram or some sort of social media. And because of that, police put more police officers in the afternoon in the area of South Street, knowing that this may lead to something to happen there. And so my question is, how many more officers were put on the street, say, compared to a normal Saturday, and what was their directive? Were they told to give disorderly conduct citations, some of those code violation citations to disperse crowds? Was any of that part of the directive?
So I don't want to conflate the two. So there is a lot going on in the city, and at any given time, we are utilizing intelligence to make sure we get ahead of the next shooting. At this point, we don't know whether or not the altercation that took place was between a group of individuals or if this was tied to another group or affiliation. But nonetheless, we know that the weather was getting warmer, whether it's here or in other parts of the city. We did have, I'm not going to give you the exact number of officers, but we did beef up our presence there. And our directive, per the usual, is obviously you're the police. To be there, to be present, to not only, to be courteous, but to also enforce laws that are there. We're talking about hundreds and hundreds of people that were out there last night, and I'm actually happy that we were there where we were, because our officers were present to not only get immediate first aid or emergency care, but to also engage one of the active shooters that we saw out there. So I don't want to conflate the two and say that this was tied directly to feuding groups, because we don't know that yet.
And just as a follow-up, though,
Sure.
So, I mean, there were hundreds of people there, but it wasn't a flash mob situation. From the video that we're seeing, and like you said, it's so early in the investigation. So my question is, though, it appears in a lot of those videos that it's officers watching. And so I'm wondering if there are any citations issued, if there are any disorderly conduct arrests prior to the shooting or after the shooting.
I'll be happy to answer that. I don't have the answer to you for you right now, but we'll be happy to circle back and give you that answer. Over here and then over here.
I know you don't have specific numbers on staffing, but anecdotally, was more police scheduled for this Saturday, given we had a concert in town relative to other summer Saturdays? Can you talk about that as a broad brushstroke to your approach heading into?
Sure, and I mean, there's no secret. There's several events going on here in the city at one time, and as such, not just because of the weather, we had additional officers deployed, but specifically in that area. We know South is a popular area, not just for locals, but for tourists alike. So we're doing what we can and did what we could yesterday to bolster that. We're going to add on top of that beginning tonight, bolstering the details that we have in that area, not just in South, but in the Penslanding area as well. So all of that to say, yes, our presence was heightened because of the multiple incidences, or not incidences, multiple events that was taking place here in the city. But again, in anticipation, just for more people being out and about.
Thank you, sir. Surveillance footage and police scanner audio indicate there was a second separate shooting shortly after 11 p.m. at 4th and Bainbridge, about a block from the mass casualty shooting that we're talking about. Can you confirm that there was the second shooting and tell me whether they were related or not?
So we don't know if the subsequent shootings, there were several shootings in that area. We don't know if they're connected.
How many?
You want to talk to that? Here. But we don't know if they're connected.
Right. Right now, what we know is there's a first shooting. So it's actually a first shooting around 4th and Bainbridge. All right. No one was struck by gunfire during that shooting that we know of at this point. That's being investigated now. Until we're able to scientifically match ballistics or look at video from there and compare it to the video from South Street, we have no idea. There's later on, probably about an hour later, there's another incident around 500 South Broad. Someone is struck by gunfire fatally. We don't know if that has anything to do with this.
The one on 4th and Bainbridge, that's about an hour before the shooting that we're talking about.
Yeah, about 30 minutes, maybe a little more than the shooting. That right now, that's preliminary, but that's from witnesses in the area. We have nothing to corroborate
So
that.
what happens between the two shootings that are a block apart? What is the police response, and how is this allowed to?
Well, they responded. They held that crime scene. Detectives from South Detectives responded to that scene. And while that was going on and officers were deployed there, we had the other incident which started on South Street.
And so how many shooters are you looking for at this point?
So we know ballistically that we had at least 5 different guns out there. All right. Now, that's not including the police officer that returned fire with somebody. So there's 5 different guns. We recovered 2. So there's 3 guns that we still need to find and compare to our evidence.
Is that shooters or guns? That's the same thing as shooters? Yeah.
Well, we know there were 5 different guns from our evidence. So we're assuming that with those guns, there was at least, we know of the incident around American and South. We know of the one where the 2 are returning fire at each other. We believe there are 2 other people firing down South Street at that particular time. So their connection to all this, we don't know.
Can you reiterate how many were, all of the victims, how many were innocent bystanders?
Well, right now, it'd be we're really just speculating. We need to put the witness, the video, everything together. What we know is there's a video of a confrontation. Those individuals, as the commissioner said, one was a decedent, one's a shooting victim. We know they're involved. We think they shoot several people, some of them being innocent victims. As far as the other 11 non-fatal shooting victims that we have, we don't know if any of them played any kind of role in this. We don't see it at this point. We just know they're hit by gunfire.
What kind of guns are you looking for? Have you recovered from the scene? Are you potentially looking for? We heard that was,
I'm not going to get specific about the caliber, but we know. I mean, we have to compare that. The ATF's here, and they're going to expedite some of those comparisons. But
any assault weapons in there?
I don't know that to be true, no.
I spoke with a witness earlier who said the night was getting progressively wilder, out of hand, fireworks being set off, etc. Was that something that...
I'm going to let one of the patrol people answer those questions.
Got it?
Yeah, so the crowd itself started to get a little bit more dense at around 8 o'clock. And just keep in mind, we had an enhanced presence, but that's a large footprint that we're covering. So we're going from basically Broad Street to 2nd Street, and then we're going north and south a few blocks. So we did have double the presence, and 2nd and South was probably the heaviest when this incident transpired, and we were there pretty heavy as far as deployment goes.
Do you feel overwhelmed?
I wouldn't say we're overwhelmed, but it's a large area to cover, and we did have additional officers out there, including tactical units, specialized tactical units. But we're going to look at it and reevaluate it and determine changes, which we're making actually on this evening's deployment. We're going to have an enhanced deployment, and we're going to change traffic patterns, and we're actually going to make some closures in particular areas that were overwhelmed last night with crowds.
But what attempts were there to disperse that crowd? If it got dense at 8 o'clock, if you had intelligence in the afternoon that there was a potential issue happening, and this happened at 11:43, between 8 o'clock and 11:43, what attempts were there to disperse the crowd?
Well, we do keep the crowds moving, but at the same time, we have to be cognizant of people's rights to come down there and to walk around, so it's a balancing act. I mean, it wasn't complete chaos at that point, obviously, once the shooting started. But prior to that, we had crowds gathering and everything. We try and keep them moving,
We have residents that we've interviewed that have on their cameras that they have outside saying that for hours they feel that nothing was done, including disorderly conduct arrests, a lot of those small code violation situations. So were you actually, and I know you're getting those numbers for me, but you were there, so were you actually issuing any of those?
I wasn't there at that point, but we'll have to check how many were issued, but we're looking at it.
We'll look into that. We're in the process of looking into what occurred last night as a whole. Once we get that information, we'll share that with you. And on top of that, I hear you talking about the intel we received in reference to South Street. It wasn't just South Street, it was other parts of the city as well. So we had to deploy resources to those locations as well as South Street. But we definitely beefed up patrol along the South Street corridor to try to prevent an incident like what occurred last night. But unfortunately, it happened. But we were covering multiple locations across the city where we were receiving intel from various folks. Okay.
I have a question for criminal law. Since you already have intel that there was larger group than normal, do you feel that your department has enough resource to respond to things like this? Because even though you have reports, something like this happened, are you looking to maybe partner with some federal law enforcement, or do you feel like you have enough resources to respond to things like this?
I don't ever feel like I have enough resources to respond to stuff like this. And it's not just for things like this. It's to allow us to not only answer. Remember, so when we assign officers to events or to be visibly present in certain parts of the city, that's one thing. But then we still have to have resources to answer calls for service or 911. When I say I would love to have more resources, it's also so we can address quality of life issues and be present citywide, not just concentrated in certain parts of the city. So when you ask me that, I mean, what's the magic number? Obviously, we didn't have enough to have a cop on, every few feet last night, but that's why it's important for us. We literally were huddling immediately after this happened to find out where we can pull more resources, where we can continue to partner with some of the other agencies that are still here in the city, and then moving forward as we move into the summer, progressively into the summer, who else can we work with to serve as force multipliers? So resources are always going to be an issue, but that's not going to be seen as an impediment to ensure the safety of everyone in the city.
So should people feel afraid to go out?
No, people shouldn't feel afraid to go out at all. And I mean, I anticipated that question, but we get that question all the time. I don't tell people to stop living their lives. Obviously, during times like this, when we have more and more people on the street, if there's events, if you know you're going to be out and about, we ask people to be, if you see something suspicious, pick up the phone, dial 911 and say something, and we'll do what we can to be present. So no, people should not be afraid. They should not be afraid. What happened last night was an atrocity, but it's not something that we see all the time. And again, I don't want us to normalize this. This is not something that's normal in the city of Philadelphia, and I don't want anyone to begin to think that it is. There was, hold on, I'm sorry, 1 second. There was something over here. Okay.
Speaking of responses, was anybody from the mass incident response team out there last night? And if so, do you know how many?
From the mass incident?
Mass incident response team?
MERT?
Yeah.
Is that where? No, not from MERT.
Whenever we've asked the mayor, and too, Marty might want to comment on this too, but about more police, he just blanketed says there aren't enough police officers. We're trying to recruit people. Is there anything that you've asked of Mayor Kenney along those lines that he has not seemed willing to provide you help with?
The mayor absolutely understands our resource needs and our resource issues, so he's in full support of that. I mean, I've talked about this repeatedly in that, our authorized strength was reduced, 2 years ago. When you just look over the years under the different commissioners, the number of police officers that were available to address whether it was violent crime or, again, to be present and address quality of life, over the years, our staffing has gone down, and we've seen the climb of crime to go back up. So he's 100% on board and understands what our resource needs are. But I think, again, this makes it very clear that, we can't be everywhere. We would love to be everywhere. But the reality is that we can't. But we're going to continue to do what we can with what we have. I don't want anybody to think, well, we don't have resources and we're taking our ball and going home. We're not. It just means that we're going to be more vigilant in our efforts. We're going to be clearer in our directives. And then again, ask community to be vigilant. And if they see something, to say something so we can get on top of it as quickly as possible. We'll take a couple more right here and right here.
What is the obstacle for calling the National Guard or some larger agency?
Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know if obstacle is the word. The National Guard, they're not trained to do day-to-day operational type of policing. So typically when you see the National Guard, will make the request through the state, and you'll see them, for example, during times of unrest. But for the most part, you'll see the National Guard on fixed posts, right? The Guard. But to do the things that the police do all day, every day, that's really not something that they're trained to do. Their use of force policies are different. They're the military. And so while I wouldn't say it's an obstacle, it's really kind of different missions, I would say.
But is there an effort to look outside of the box? Because recruitment takes a long time. You might recruit someone but still go through the academy. Is there an effort to think outside the box and maybe go to counties to retired detectives, retired police officers, so that way they can be deputized in quicker?
There's been an ongoing effort, and I see you over here, so I haven't forgotten. You just jumped in. But there's been an ongoing effort. Well in advance, we knew the summer was coming. Last year, we knew we had a record year, which was terrible. There's always an effort to think outside of the box, to work, again, with, it's almost, you hear me say state, local, federal partners. It's almost like it's one word. ATF, FBI is here. The AG's office is here. I mean, we leverage all of our relationships with our partners, but everyone, quite frankly, has resource issues. And so they've been sending us what they can for the period of times that we can. And, it's important for us to utilize our voice and our seat at the table with this current administration as well, not in the city, but in Washington, to let them know what our resource needs are. The fact that, we need the feds, I'm not going to speak for them, but, the feds need more resources. So that's an ongoing conversation at all times, because we know even if miraculously our authorized strength gets reinstituted, we're not going to be able to hire all those people tomorrow. So we're constantly thinking about how we can leverage the relationships with our partners to make sure that we can still cover the same amount of ground that we have been in the past. Over here, and that's going to be the last question.
The responding officer who discharged his weapon, how many shots were fired, and do you know if any of those shots, rounds, hit anyone besides the shooter?
So I won't give the exact number of rounds fired. We know that there were several. And again, it's still really early, but we believe at this point that he struck one of the shooters, and that's it at this point.
And are you releasing the name at this point of the officer?
Not yet.
And I just one last question about the timeline event. This is a very confusing.
I know.
Just to confirm, maybe this is a question for patrol, but 11:04 we were shooting at 4th and Bainbridge. We have shortly before midnight, we have the shooting incident on South Street erupt, and there might have been multiple shootings that are occurring at the same time. That is unclear. Is that accurate?
So we had the shooting incident at 4th and Bainbridge. No one was hit. That was about 35 to 40 minutes before the actual main shooting on South Street. So yes, officers had to respond to that. Officers had to guard that crime scene. But we still had the bulk of the deployment on South Street and then the other surrounding areas, going from 2nd and South to Broad and South. So.
Okay, just confirming the total number of shooting incidents that we know of, though, in that area at that time.
So there would have been the shooting incident on Bainbridge Street, and then the shooting incidents that took place on South Street, where we had individuals that were, yes.
And of the 5 guns that were used, all of those were involved just on the South Street incident?
Yeah, we believe so.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, folks.
Shooting up one, what about the shooting up one?
Yeah, there's 13 shots total range.
Okay, you've been listening live to the Philadelphia Police Department updating us on this deadly mass shooting that exploded on South Street last night. 11:31 was the time. Once again, to recap, 11 people wounded, 3 dead, including a male, a female, and a person believed to be one of at least a handful of shooters at that scene. Jefferson, Temple, and Penn Presbyterian, the hospitals that all of the wounded and the dead among them went to. Lots of information to digest here, but at this point, Philadelphia police explaining to us that it was for a time chaos out there on South Street. Of course, we will continue to follow all of the latest developments throughout the afternoon and the evening. Please make sure you tune in for live team coverage on Eyewitness News starting at 6:30, then at 10 on the CW Philly, and back here for CBS 3 Eyewitness News at 11. For now, I'm Joe Holden here on CBS 3. We will be joining coverage of the Memorial Golf Tournament. Good day to you.